No, they're already talking about it. Hold on 1 second, guys. No.
Okay, I don't have segments hat.
Oh no, this guy is gone.
We're gonna go here.
Right?
This guy is gone. Are they gonna show them right away? Oh, he's back.
Okay. Tell him to just not have a background. Hey, Russ, can you not have a background? Yeah, that's awesome.
How long can we talk?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Are you gonna conduct it? Okay. Can I get out? Get out? Okay.
What's going on?
Bye guys. Have fun. See you soon. Thanks.
A tiny bit more angled towards me.
This out of here and go to your.
Is there a Cadillac read for this or no? Okay. Okay. Jacket's better.
I think for this,
Okay.
guy wants to get a
Segment
jacket.
10, 4 and 10.
I'm excited for next week. It's gonna be fun.
It's going to be really good.
Yeah.
I mean, we are covering the waterfront.
Will you be here all week or?
I'll be there.
Oh, you're gonna go
Yeah.
to the convention or you're gonna?
No, I'll be in New York.
Okay.
First, I'm going to go to Monday. I'll be at Apple.
Oh, you're gonna go back up there?
Yeah.
How's the app coming along?
Looking good.
Good.
Yes. Yes.
I'll show you what we have so far.
Oh,
Just so you
Cool.
guys know, our hangout is live and up, so they can see you now.
Okay.
So don't, do anything to embarrass.
I'm not gonna. I'll keep my clothes on.
we won't point out your
Yeah.
zipper being
Your
halfway
half-mast.
down. Yeah. Did you see Mark saying some shit they want you to believe?
Oh, he said that?
Yeah.
Oh God.
That's some shit they want you to believe.
In what segment was it?
The religion, science,
Oh,
or
yeah.
something like that?
Yeah, Mark's dropped shit a couple of times.
Yeah, he's throwing the bomb, man.
Yep. And I can tuck this a little bit further back.
I like these new little table
Yeah.
things we have.
Yeah.
They're better for because everybody keeps saying in the comments, oh, your lap must be on fire from the computer and shit. And it's like, I'm doing good. So they're running late.
But I'm trying to find out.
Okay.
Yes, obviously he better play.
I'm not hearing you now. No.
There
You go.
you go, please.
Is that one fitted for you, or is that just...
No, but I've sort of, at first it feels uncomfortable, and then I sort of figured out you're just real.
Cancer in which they can become the spokesperson, but I think the company itself has laid a solid enough foundation in which it can go on without it.
All right, My Accessible Life, who is on fire today, says if Marion Jones can come back from a doping scandal and jail, then so can Lance Armstrong.
It's true.
Marion Jones gets asked to do motivational speeches around the country talking about how she screwed up. Her thing is called Take a Minute. She's saying she wished she had taken a minute and reflected on what she said before she lied under oath. If Lance Armstrong had an organization about doping, he'd be great. Unfortunately, that's not what he's trying to do.
Coming to a theater near you.
Exactly.
Do you think he can come back from this, he personally, Tamara?
No.
Oh, I totally think that he can come back from this. I think, again, so many cancer survivors look to him for inspiration. I don't think that's going to change. And again, I think going back to, I read his letter carefully that he crafted, and I think, when you look at how much they put in, and they broke laws too, and people have been on so many sides of things, everything has two sides, and he presented a very strong case as to why he's walking away. And in this day and age, when people understand that you need to give attention to more important things than a witch hunt, I think that's respectable.
You both perked up.
I definitely would not forgive him, but that's because I don't really care about cycling anyway. I think you should never underestimate the stupidity and gullibility and forgiveness of sports fans like Mark. So I think
it's true.
David Mark Lane agrees. Redemption, renewal, forgiveness, American way? Question mark. All right, Barry and Tamara, thanks so much. We will be right back.
Thank you.
Thank you with more HuffPost Live. Welcome back to HuffPost Live. I'm Alicia Menendez here with Josh Sepps and Mark Lamont Hill. TGIF. It's time for us to hand it over to Jacob. Roy, how you doing?
Mark Lamont Hill, that upper deck is looking really nice on you.
I can't hear anything now.
You can't hear.
But that's all right. I'm sure you're delightful. Now we can hear you.
You look beautiful. I think that, Mark, if you don't go with that look every day, I'm going to be very disappointed from now on.
I'm very.
I'm going upper deck.
Thank you.
He buttons his top button. It's in honor of him.
Not today, though.
I know.
Not today. We got him with the T-shirt.
Not today, guys. You guys have a wonderful weekend. I got Roy here, the big boss. We're going to be giving people a preview of what's coming up next week. So enjoy yourselves.
Jacob, if we had known that the big boss was there, we would have made the last segment actually good.
He told me he's going to be calling you after this segment.
Oh, there's some hell to pay. Hell to pay.
Sorry. All right, Mark, go upper deck all weekend for me. Have a good weekend, guys.
All week.
See you guys. Welcome to HuffPost Live from Los Angeles. I'm Jacob Soboroff, alongside the president and co-creator of HuffPost Live and the founding editor of the Huffington Post, Roy Seagull.
Too many titles. Too many titles.
I like it. The more, the better.
I don't know.
How are you?
I'm great.
It's good to have you in LA with us. Yeah.
Thanks.
So next week, all eyes are, you're here to talk about the shadow conventions. Yeah. And next week, all eyes are going to be on Tampa for the Republican National Convention. But our eyes at Huffington Post and HuffPost Live are not necessarily going to be there. They're going to be more on the community and our shadow conventions. This is something that's gone back 12 years. Tell us about it.
Well, you know, the idea for this started in 2000, and Ariana co-convened the shadow conventions back in 2000 to run concurrently with the major party conventions. The Republicans were in Philadelphia back then. The Democrats were here in LA. Yeah. And the idea was that they wanted to talk about 3 issues that neither party was discussing. You know, we sort of have this idea that, you know, the parties are at each other's throats, but there's actually a pretty much of an agreement, a bipartisan agreement that they're not going to talk about things like the war on drugs, like poverty in America, and like the corrupting influence of money on our politics. So as we decided to launch this baby, HuffPost Live, we decided, well, what would we do during the conventions? The idea came to me, well, why don't we bring back the shadow conventions, but this time, instead of doing it very presentationally, like we did in 2012, with everybody up on stage talking, why don't we do it the HuffPost Live way by bringing in the community and making them front and center? And when we looked at that, shockingly and sadly, we found that all 3 of those issues had gotten worse.
Yeah, and we have statistics. We'll get to those later. But the difference between this year and 12 years ago is that 12 years ago it literally was in the flesh, brick and mortar shadow convention. Yeah. It was literally a convention in the shadow of the convention.
Exactly. We went there and we're at the University of Pennsylvania, and we had everybody show up and they came on buses, which was very cool. But we thought, wait a minute. That's very 2000, because now we can have, as we've been doing on HuffPost Live, the thing that's so exciting about it is bringing you involved. And that's what we really want to do next week. So what we're doing is we're going to devote one day each week of the conventions to each topic. So on Tuesday, it's going to be the war on drugs. And on Wednesday, it's going to be poverty and jobs. And on Thursday, it's going to be the influence of money on our politics. And we're going to do that for both weeks. And it's an important thing that I want to make clear. This is not about bashing either party, because both of them are not getting it right. So it's not like we're going to be wagging our fingers at the Republicans.
As you said, I think that we often talk about how there is not bipartisanship in our country, but on these issues in particular, there is a deafening silence, a bipartisan deafening silence on all of these three issues.
Yeah, and really, what have the conventions become? They become like 3-day-long primetime commercials for the parties. Yeah. They're not really talking about...
They're shows, essentially.
Yeah, they're really very well produced and choreographed shows. So, and I guarantee you that these very important issues are not going to be talked about at either of the conventions. So what we're going to do is, and this, by the way, is not just HuffPost Live. This is site-wide on the Huffington Post.
Across the board.
Across the board. So what we're having is all the different verticals, all the different sections are going to cover the topics in their own way. So, we want to show the comprehensiveness of how these subjects really affect our everyday lives. So, for instance, what are marriages? How are marriages being affected by the war on drugs?
Right.
We'll cover that on the divorce section. How is the media covering the war on drugs? What impact does it have on business? So we'll have that on all the sections. I don't think there's going to be any place that you're going to be able to find something that comprehensive when you come to HuffPost on Tuesday and 20 different verticals are covering this issue all from a different angle.
Different angles, yeah. Do you want to take a look? I know we've got some footage from 2000, so take a look back at what the shadow conventions looked like before, and then a look ahead at now. We got some tape. Should we take a look at that?
There's a little clip from Al Franken and somebody I think you'll all recognize.
But we're not here to bash Newt. We're here to talk about the shadow agenda. And so why don't we go immediately onto something that is a real comedy goldmine, childhood poverty.
Very funny stuff. Republican Party, of course, believes that childhood poverty is basically caused because kids don't work. And in fact, in their platform, they're pointing out that childhood unemployment is at an all-time high during Clinton Gore.
So poverty in America, it's worse than it was. I actually have some stats here about poverty in America. In 2000, the rate of poverty, this is from the Census Bureau, 11.3% of Americans, 31.1 million Americans. 2010, those statistics, 15.1%, 46.2 million Americans. So things have only gotten worse. And for money in politics as well, there's more money in politics than ever before. Billions and billions of dollars are spent on the election. Less and less people are voting. And the same for the war on drugs. More people are using illicit drugs than ever before. From the booth, I was asked, they didn't know that I was standing with Ariana, but I would like to make clear that was Al Franken. That was not me standing with Ariana.
Yes, and the thing that's really vexing is, where are you hearing the conversation about poverty in America? You don't.
Right.
Both parties are talking about the middle class. They're paying lip service to it. But meanwhile, more and more people from the middle class are slipping down into poverty. It's declining mobility. And you're not hearing that. You're not going to hear that on the stage in Tampa, and you're not going to hear that on the stage in Charlotte. But you're going to hear it here on HuffPost Live, and we're going to hear it from you. The community, because that's, I think, the difference maker for us, is starting real conversations about these issues. And in fact, I think we could have maybe a little preview and bring in some of the community members.
Yeah, I know we have some members of the community that are here now with us. Joining us via Google Hangout, Roida. She's a political activist from New Jersey. HuffPost blogger Marcus is here, a teacher in New York City. And HuffPost blogger Russ is here as well. He's a radio show host from Portland, Oregon. How are you all?
Doing great, thanks.
Good, how are you?
Good. Roida, I want to start with you. When you hear Roy talking about money in politics, getting the money out of politics, fighting the war on drugs, poverty in America, these aren't issues that we hear all that much about. Are they?
No, they're not at all. And it's a scary thought, because there are issues that are really important to us, especially poverty. The stats that you were telling me are so scary, being the fact that I think the latest stat that I read was 22% of those Americans are under the age of 18. 9% of those are white. So as a minority and as like this youth of this country, it scares me, because it's kind of like, I'm studying and I'm working hard, and where's my effort going to go if poverty is only getting worse? So it's definitely a scary, scary thought.
It's that idea that what is the face of poverty today? We have this image, that it's maybe rural and that it's maybe, African American, that it's actually not the case. Poverty is now, suburban, poverty. It's suburban, it's urban, and it's rural. It's white, it's black, and it's brown.
It's everywhere. And I think everybody, across the country can say if they haven't fallen on hard times, they know someone who's fallen on hard times. And these are things that everybody can relate to. And so often when you're watching the conventions from home, again, it looks like a show. It looks like a presentation. It looks like you're watching a movie or a grand production. And that these aren't issues that you feel like everyday Americans talk about, even between each other. Marcus, I know that you have a strong position on the war on drugs. What do you want to hear from the candidates or even from us on the shadow conventions next week about the war on drugs?
Well, I think that it's clear that the war on drugs has been waged and we've lost. And so I rather than exclusively a discussion on the war on drugs, I think that we need to make a shift to how we're going to deal with reentry. Because what we have now is millions of Americans who basically have the scarlet letter of a felon on their name where they can't, and actually I actually teach at Florida International University in the state of Florida, they can't vote for at least 5 years.
Absolutely.
They're not eligible for Pell Grants. They're not eligible for public housing. So how do we address all of these people who are reentering this society without the basic, they can't get a job and they can't go to school?
And Marcus, you're nailing it. That's what we really want to talk about. We don't want to talk about just sort of one angle of it. That's why we're doing 4 hours, a day twice. So we're going to have 8 hours on this topic, talking about, we're talking about what are the main fronts on this war on drugs, and that's one of them. It's the disenfranchisement of millions of young men, particularly women too. And then it's the new Jim Crow, basically, right? This is a way that they're disenfranchising so many millions of voters, and we're spending our money building more and more prisons as opposed to...
Instead of treating people, and we've had conversations here on HuffPost Live about in countries like Uruguay or in Portugal, they use rehabilitation instead of incarceration for drug offenders, and how in those countries, drug use has actually gone down because of the way that they're treating it treating the problem and tackling it from a different angle.
But why do you guys think this has become such an electrified third rail? That that both parties have sort of come to some great agreement. Talk about a grand bargain. This is the grand bargain that we won't talk about these issues.
Russ, we haven't heard from you. What do you think, Russ? I mean, again, the silence is deafening on these issues from both major political parties. Why?
Yeah, the last time we heard President Obama talk about it back when he was running for the Senate, he said the war on drugs is an utter failure and we need to rethink and decriminalize our marijuana laws. But you can't lay the blame for this on either party. They've both been culpable. There were more marijuana arrests during Bill Clinton's administration, more increase in arrests. He increased the arrests 90% over his term. The war on drugs going all the way back to Richard Nixon has been a bipartisan failure. And I think part of the reason why neither party wants to talk about it is there are certain elements within their base or political considerations that do not make it a good idea for them to talk about it. With Republicans, they've got the right-wing base, the Christian evangelicals, people who see the drugs as a moral issue, and they don't want to be seen as endorsing a moral issue. Your more libertarian Republicans like Ron Paul might, or Gary Johnson, but for the most part, your mainstream Republicans want to stay away from that. On the Democratic side, they've been beat up so long on the soft on crime issue that they're afraid to dip their toe in the water for fear of getting painted by that attack ad. Oh, so-and-so, voted to legalize marijuana or supports, drug needle exchanges or whatever it might be. So both parties are ignoring this issue. And I feel both at their own peril. The GOP is getting increasingly old, increasingly a white minority. They need youth and minority votes. What better issue could they pick up than one that fits their agenda of small government, personal responsibility, and so forth? They really need to get on this issue.
And over the last 12 years, Roy, I've got some more stats from this one. These are from the Department of Health and Human Services. In 2001, 7.1% of Americans, 15.9 million people 12 or older were using illicit drugs. In 2010, it's up to almost 9%, 22.6 million people. So as the silence has grown larger, the problem has grown bigger, obviously.
It sort of seems to be that whenever we declare war on something, that's like the kiss of death. Yeah. It's only going to get worse.
It's a good point.
Yeah.
Rowida, what do you think about the war on drugs? You know, when you hear these statistics, again, same thing like money in politics or unemployment, then it's baffling that these numbers continue to grow. We have an article here. Chris Christie, who's going to be a keynote speaker at the Republican convention, has called the war on drugs a failure. But I bet you a nickel, Rowida, that you will not hear Chris Christie talking about the war on drugs from the podium at the Republican National Convention.
I agree. I completely agree. And it's so sad. And in a sense, it says failure to me. It's when neither party wants to say anything. It's because, hey, we don't have a solution. Sorry, but we can't help you. So as the silence is just completely deafening, it kind of loses hope. You know, it gives me a sense of failure, and that the fact there is no solution, it's a scary thought.
And when you come to someone like Governor Chris Christie, there was a medical marijuana law passed by signed by his predecessor that mandated that people could get medical marijuana if they had 12 months left to live. Governor Christie has dragged his feet on this for over 28 months. Some of those people have died. People are in prison now because of their intransigence to address this issue in a mature manner.
Let's take a look. Let's talk about money in politics for a minute. I mentioned briefly that, again, billions of dollars are going to be spent in this election. Over almost $2 billion were spent in the last election. In 2000, it was something like $579 million donated to the candidates. I got the map up from HuffPost Fundraise right now. We see where the money is coming from in politics. But, Roy, can you ever imagine a scenario in which at the Democratic or Republican conventions, they would stand up there and say, you know, this money coming into us, I think we ought to change the way that this happens?
Of course, you know, we're having this superficial discussion. I mean, there is some talk about, you know, Citizens United and the super PACs and the dark money that's coming in now. But, you know, what about the way that money is influencing everything? That's what we want to look about. We want to kind of go deeper.
All these are interconnected issues.
Yeah,
That's,
I mean,
that's
look
the
at
point.
it. What does it do to a candidate to have to constantly be dialing for dollars? They're going to be spending $2.5 billion on this campaign. So that requires a lot of money, right? And so how does that change that? How does it change up the makeup of the Senate? What percentage of our representatives are now millionaires?
And think about how much the crazy thing to me, and Marcus or any of you can feel free to weigh in, how much money per vote are we spending? Candidates are spending more and more money per vote, yet less than half of all Americans on average go out to vote. In this presidential election upcoming, tens of millions of people will be sitting at home, yet the amount of money spent in the process is going up and up and up, and it doesn't seem like it's going to turn around anytime soon.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. I think when you look at a number like $2.5 billion that they're spending,
it blows your mind
on political ads, but we're closing recreation centers around the country.
That's a great point, Marcus.
We're defunding education, and really it's all connected, because what we're seeing is, and it's connected to the poverty discussion, because it's really blatant. I'm just going to pick on the Paul Ryan budget, but the fact that two-thirds of the budgetary schedule cuts are geared for low-income communities, and nobody is saying anything about it. They're completely gutting the Pell Grant system, but nobody is saying anything about it, because guess what? Kids who are under 18 can't vote. Most kids in college can't vote, and poor people can't contribute with the same tenacity, with the same amount of power that their rich counterparts can contribute. So we're seeing something like Paul Ryan, immediately after his announcement, going out to Las Vegas and meeting with Sheldon Adelson. So what kind of influence does he have?
Here's the thing, and this is the thing that I want to ask everybody on the panel and all the commenters, who are answering in our comment thread. Why aren't we angrier? Right. When we have a situation where you have Sheldon Adelson saying he's going to spend $100 million, whatever it takes, to basically help buy this presidency. And the first thing that Paul Ryan does, one of the first things he does, is he goes and he kisses the ring of Adelson in Vegas. And the money that where does he get his money? Right. It's coming in from his gambling in Macau, dealing with China.
That's what Bill Maher said when he was here.
Right. And every time you hear this, it makes my blood boil. And I wonder, though, why aren't people angrier? That's the thing. I mean, I don't see anybody out on the streets. I don't see that sense, that 1968 sense when people are going to, come down to the conventions and sort of make a scene and say, we're tired of this happening. So why do you guys think, what's it going to take for, the populace to kind of get pissed?
Let us know in the comments. As a matter of fact, right now, I want to go to one of the comments, but, keep commenting right now. And if you want to send us a video comment, we'll try to get it up on air before this segment ends. W.T. Huffington says, in regards to the money in politics, and they're really spending most of that money, the $2.5 billion, on undecideds, and the price per vote then even becomes more ridiculous, because really they're just trying to target a very tiny slice of the electorate. Most everybody else has already made up their minds. That's another conversation. Are two parties, is a two-party system something that can change? And again, there is absolutely no chance ever that will be a topic of conversation, Russ, at the conventions.
Yeah, and I think Mark has hit on something as well about how all these things are connected. We were asking earlier about, why don't the parties talk about the war on drugs, and then we moved on to the money in politics. That's why they don't talk about the war on drugs. If you're big pharma and you're contributing to both sides of the aisle to get your candidates elected, the last thing you want is someone up there talking about ending the war on a plant that could reduce their profits by half to a third. If you're selling Miller beer or Coors Light, you don't want your Super Bowl ads to be competing against something someone can grow in their closet and get much better relief, have a little bit better time, and doesn't cause hangovers or alcoholism or any of the problems that alcohol might cause. There's a lot of the money in politics keeping the war on drugs from being discussed, as well as other topics that we could go into.
Well, that's why we talk about. Yeah, go ahead, Marcus.
I was going to say, and there are also vested interests in the war on drugs as well. Anytime, approximately $88,000 a year to incarcerate a juvenile, but the average public tuition is around $8,000.
That's a great point.
Who is benefiting from that $88,000 a year? And so we're seeing the growth in privatized prisons in the entire prison industrial complex. So there's a whole economic industry that is vested. And it's investing in political candidates to uphold and to continue the war on drugs.
Well, I agree, and as these monies, it's ironic to me, because as these numbers are increasing, we're seeing money in important things like education, like the Pell Grants that Marcus was hitting on, that's decreasing. So where are our priorities? Where is this money going? That's what gets my blood to boil, to put in your words, is that this is what we're investing in, and the things that are really important, that's what we're taking away, and that's frustrating.
Right. And you asked also why the people aren't more angry about this. I think why they're not more angry about this is for years, decades now, people have felt disenfranchised, felt like what they think really doesn't matter. I mean, I grew up during the age of Reagan, and people had that same mentality that this country's been bought and paid for by special interests, and nothing we can do can change it. So the reason people aren't out in the streets right now is they feel, what good would it do to be out in the streets? What good am I going to do against Sheldon Adelson and his billions of dollars, or George Soros and his billions of dollars, depending on which side of the aisle you're looking at this from. But more than the money on these issues, what breaks my heart are the personal stories. Every day on my show on National Cannabis Coalition, NCR420.com, I talk to these people who are affected. A woman named Daisy Bram, who's a legal medical marijuana patient, having her babies ripped off her breast, literally, by SWAT teams. Remember Elian Gonzalez? It was just like that. Guns at her head, ripping a baby off of her, suckling off of her breast.
Russ, what you're saying are the stories that we want to tell and that we'll get to. And honestly, we want you guys to tell us in the comments. I know that you're pissed, because look right here. Westward One says, I'm pissed. And we know you guys are pissed. And that's why we're doing the shadow conventions, not brick and mortar like we were doing 12 years ago, but here in the comments.
And I love what you guys are saying. It's actually, the manifestation of everything we've been talking about, because they're all interconnected, right? Yes. Every one of these topics are affected by the other ones, including the cynicism. Because where does most of that $2.5 billion go? To making ads that are negative, and they make you feel tired that you can't do anything about it.
Exactly.
So that's why I want to get a little specific for a second, because you're totally right, Jacob. That's why we want to tell the stories. We want to hear, because too often we have these policy discussions in a vacuum, and we sort of look at it like it's just political ping pong. Who scored? Was that the D's or was that the R's? Was that the red state or the, instead of
what are the poll numbers? Well, who's up, who's down?
Who's up, who's down, the horse race. Instead of, what are the real effects on real people's lives, as you're saying? The Pell Grants, people living in poverty, families, who are breaking apart.
Recreation centers closing, as we heard here.
So that's why we want you guys to be involved in this. We're going to be doing these Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of next week and the week after, 12 Eastern to 4 Eastern. We're going to be live doing the shadow conventions. Then we're going to do a replay at night with live cut-ins here from LA, so we can keep the conversation going. And so what I'd like you to do right now is we're going to be putting up green rooms for each of these main subjects, for the drug war, for poverty, and for money in politics. And we want you to go there and start the conversation. They'll be up all weekend.
I think they're actually up and activated right now. If you guys want to get started, you know where the green rooms are. They're directly above us. Scroll through these videos, scroll through these items up here on the top. You'll be able to get the conversation started, not tomorrow, not over the weekend, right now.
Yeah, and tell us, what you'd like to hear us talking about, over the next 2 weeks. And because, as I say, and, this is sort of our motto, but this is the reason that we created this thing, is because it really is about hearing from you. We don't want to talk at you. We want to talk with you. And that's why I really enjoyed this segment right here.
Tom Servo says, I'm there. Tom, we're looking forward to having you there. I think to take us, first of all, I wanted to thank you guys for all being here. And I hope that you'll be here with us next week as well, because your insights into this. We have
to be.
It's exactly what makes this thing run.
Yeah.
It's exactly what makes things. So thank you all very much. And I think before we go, we got one more video to show folks a little bit of a blast from the past.
A little bit of now, then and now.
Yeah. So Roy, thank you for being here, and we'll take a quick look before you get out of here.
Anybody who knows this subject knows the truth of what I'm about to say. First of all, I want to quote LA Times reporter Larry Stammer. Critics, both religious and secular, point to the enormous increase in the number of prisoners serving sentences for drug-related crimes. They also cite statistics that while most drug users in the country are white, most of those serving prison terms for drug crimes are black. Say it. You know it to be the truth. You know it to be a problem. Say it.
Here we go.
That says it all for me.
It does, doesn't it?
We're going to be talking with you, and so we'll see you next week. Shadow Conventions 2012, HuffPost Live.
Guys, the conversation, as always, continues right here on HuffPost Live, so don't go anywhere.
Hey, folks, wasn't that fun? Did we enjoy ourselves? All right. Let's get back into the show as it was originally meant to. Already in progress, I guess. All right, pretend like we're just starting. Everybody ready? Set, go.
The following program, The Russ Belville Show, is intended for responsible adults only. We advocate to the repeal of marijuana prohibition for adults. We discuss the science, culture, and controversy about America's marijuana laws. We do not advocate any illegal activity and encourage all listeners to learn their state and federal marijuana laws. Opinions and claims made by guests and advertisers on The Russ Belville Show are their own, and The Russ Belville Show cannot be held legally responsible for their validity or reliability. Viewer discretion is advised.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it, and it goes down smooth. Hey!
Spanning the continent to bring you the truth about cannabis and marijuana law reform.
I smoke pot and I like it a lot.
From the promise of legalization.
And I think that we need to rethink and
to the agony of prohibition.
One major responsibility is to encourage people to use less drugs.
The Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation. Brought to you by the National Cannabis Coalition.
Yeah, I hear you had a question for me.
Now, here's your host, Radical Russ Belville.
Oh, yeah, everybody. Welcome back to the show. It is Friday, August 24th, 2012, and it's got to be 420 somewhere in the world. Thanks for joining us for this special edition of the Russ Belville Show. We were interrupted. If you were joining us just a few minutes ago and wondering what the hell is going on, I got a call at 1:30 today to be a part of Huffington Post Live. You can find that at live.huffingtonpost.com. A part of a discussion on the war on drugs, and I think it went pretty well. Of course, you could only see my side of it. If you were out there at the Huffington Post side, you could see all the stuff that they were doing. And it sounds as if they may invite me back next week for more discussion Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday in their shadow convention. So follow me at Radical Russ. I'll keep you in touch with the details on that, let you know what's happening. Again, running Skeleton Crew today. Cannabis Carrie's got the week off because she's doing her KMUN pledge drive. Please check her out at coastradio.org and do what you can to help. She loves doing that community radio work. She's got a great folk show that she does, and help her out as best you can. Wiz Khalifa is also off today. He's running around getting some more work done. But joining me here in the studio, we do have Big Daddy Fink still hanging out in the house. How you doing, Big Daddy?
Doing pretty good, Russ.
Having a good time?
Yeah, I've been having a good time.
good time. Yeah, we are. And so today's show, kind of a abbreviated show, but we are going to get to everything. I'm going to take you back to Seattle Hemp Fest for our last day of coverage of the largest protestival in the world. So for Rockin' Friday today, I know we're a little late on the 20 after, but for Rockin' Friday today, I'm going to bring you live coverage of Lucero, the band. You've heard him on Herb Thrasher Flower Hour. We got them live on the main stage. Then I'm going to bring you some more videos, speeches, and interviews from people at Seattle Hemp Fest, including a look at myself and Adam Hand at 710 at the Handmade Apparel booth. We'll also give you a look at the Hemp Fest scene, speeches from Tim Pate, and then one of my favorite moments of Seattle Hemp Fest, Philip Doughty, who's one of the No on I-502 guys, but he's a great speaker, took on a heckler who jumped the guardrail. You got to see this one. His response to him was hilarious. Then we've got David Knott from Reason Magazine going to give us a little wisdom of his, and we're going to wind things up with Bill Panzer from the Normal Legal Committee and the Normal Board of Directors. He's also one of the co-authors of Prop 215. We'll get his speech from Seattle Hemp Fest, and then we'll take it into Hour 2, Toker Talk Radio, where we'll take your calls, and we will discuss anything you'd like to discuss. It's open topics today on Friday, so thanks for joining us. Let's get to it. We'll be right back after a short break with your Rockin' Friday tune from Lucero, live at Seattle Hemp Fest.
It's simply business. It's simply business. It's simply business, you know why they won't let us grow. It's simply business.
We'll be right back after these messages from our 420 friendly sponsors. Support these advertisers because their ad money goes straight to the Russ Belville Show. You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation. Brought to you by the National Cannabis Coalition.
It's simply business. It's simply business. It's simply business, you know why they won't let us grow. It's simply business. It's simply business, you know why they won't let us grow. It's simply business.
I don't like it personally, but it's time for a conversation about legalizing marijuana. It's a multi-million-dollar industry in Washington state, and we get no benefit. What if we regulate it? Have background checks for retailers, stiff penalties for selling to minors. We could tax it to fund schools and health care, free up police to go after violent crime instead. And we would control the money, not the gangs. Let's talk about a new approach, legalizing and regulating marijuana.
Everyone knows music and marijuana go together, so let's wind up our 20 after break with the Russ Belville Show's Daily Toker Tunes, the best in pod-safe 420 music from around the web. Today is Rockin' Friday, featuring rock, metal, and the hard edge of alternative country. You can get downloads and more information about all our Daily Toker Tunes by visiting music.radicalruss.com. Now, sit back and enjoy your Daily Toker Tune.
Yeah, you know our man Herb Thrasher. He's the host of the Herb Thrasher Flower Hour every Friday night. He'll be in here later tonight with more great rock and interviews that he did with numerous bands, including Iron Mike and Lucero at Seattle Hemp Fest. But first, we're going to bring you some video from the main stage. One of Herb Thrasher's favorite bands, Lucero, performed there. We'll switch to the video screen now so you can enjoy this from Seattle Hemp Fest. This is Seattle's own Lucero.
Yeah, do it, 9. 5 minutes, huh? We'll do it. Okay, well, we have 5 more minutes, so we'll do. Thanks out. All right, this will be our last song. Thank you very much. Again, our name is Lucero. We are from Edward, Washington, and we have albums and stuff just right over there at the Cabby Gold Records tent. T-shirts, hoodies, for the support. So the song's called Exile. Hope you guys have a great fucking day, man.
Yeah, Lucero at Seattle Hemp Fest. Good time was had by all. Big thanks to Herb Thrash and all the folks at Cavi Gold Records who are getting involved with us here at the Russ Belville show. Thanks for joining us.
Dear Mom, when I was in college, I used to drink a lot. It was kind of crazy. But now that I'm older, I prefer to use marijuana. It's less harmful to my body, I don't get hungover, and honestly, I feel safer around marijuana users. I hope this makes sense, but if not, let's talk. I love you.
Funky roller ring.
Oh yeah.
What's happening, Groovy Cats? This is your Funk Master of Ceremonies, Big Daddy, and I want you to join me every Thursday night at 11 Eastern, 8 Pacific, right here at the Funky Roller Ring, National Cannabis Radio's home of soul, funk, and disco.
Funky-licious.
It's always a party at the Funky Roller Ring, baby.
Activism begins with ACT. The Russ Belville Show features the stories of hardworking grassroots activists working for an end to prohibition in today's activist agenda.
All right, we're going back to Seattle Hemp Fest for a little bit of time here to check out some of the other speakers and scenes that we just haven't gotten to yet. But don't worry, if you missed any of the shows this week, I'm uploading all this stuff to my YouTube channel. You can go to youtube.com/RadicalRuss to get all of this stuff, all the speeches, the long form panels that I've put up, and I still have even more editing to do. But this does it for our Seattle Hemp Fest coverage. Next week, we'll be back with regular shows and our regularly scheduled guests. So make sure you check that out right here at ncr420.com. And if you enjoy the coverage that you're getting here at the different events, we really need your help in paying the bills to get to them. We're always looking for sponsors, always looking for donations and sponsorship money. And for a short time, National Cannabis Coalition will do a dollar match on your donations. That's right. For every dollar you donate to the National Cannabis Radio, they will match it in kind for $1. There are limitations that do apply. We'll get that all posted up on the blog as soon as we can. But we're really excited in this co-fundraising venture that we're putting together. Help us get our coverage of the election. We are wanting to have someone in Seattle, someone in Denver, and someone right here in Portland, Oregon to cover live. So we're looking at possibly having Carrie in Denver, Kaliko in Seattle, or in Portland here, and myself in Seattle at the campaign headquarters of the legalization campaigns. So if you want that live coverage, if you want to see from ground zero legalization happen in America, we need those donations to flow in. Please make it happen. Visit our page at ncr420.com. Make a donation there. You can visit my blog at radicalruss.com. We have a donate tab there as well. If you'd like to advertise, we have all sorts of advertising available for you. Just send me an email, russ@radicalruss.com, and we will make it happen. Plus, we're going to have remote correspondence at the states that are voting on medical marijuana, which now includes Arkansas. We're looking at possibly North Dakota. Massachusetts is on the ballot. And of course, Montana has their referendum to return medical marijuana to the way the people voted it in. So coverage from up to 7 states. You're not going to find that anywhere else on the net. You're not going to find it on mainstream media. Help us make it happen right here at National Cannabis Radio. Send me an email, russ@radicalruss.com. All right, we're going to turn over to the videos now. Switch to the video screen. We're going to start with our 710 celebration at Adam Hand's booth, followed up with a look at Hempfest, speeches from Tim Pate, Phil Dottie, David Knott, and Bill Panzer, right here on the Russ Belville Show. That at me.
Hey, look at that. Now I'm a photographer. Yeah, I got you. Got a nice one coming on camera here.
Welcome to Hempfest. We're here with the Handmade Apparel, Adam Hand, handmadeapparel.biz.
And Russ, obviously, of National Cannabis Radio.
That's me.
That's that guy.
And it is my first dab of the day, I believe.
Ooh, there we go.
Dab of the day.
$15, man. Take it home. You want it? $15. We got some hip shirts up there. There you go.
Very nice.
Yeah, we love the herb. We represent the herb. And we won't stop until the jail doors get thrown open, you know? And all the drug war prisoners get free. That's when it's going to happen. And we all really need to stand up for that. And I heard them talk about elections coming up a little bit earlier. Up here? I didn't look at it up here, but...
lots and lots of things he does. Many. He's always pulling something else out that he tells me about that he does. He carves pumpkins professionally. I mean, he sand castles. Musician. You're sponsored by Gibson Guitars. You're one of his sponsors. He opens main stage here at Hempfest every year. He runs his own. He was working with Hempstock for a long time in Oregon, and now he's going to do, is that next weekend, next Sunday in Astoria, Ziggy Marley, Longview. But of all the things he does, and he knows a lot about industrial hemp, but of all the different activist things he does, he always seems to list first that he's a grand prize coordinator for Seattle Hempfest. Grand prize coordinator, we do have a raffle, I believe it is, a raffle. We're having a raffle. He'll tell you a bit more about it. But let's hear it for Tim Pate.
Oh, thank you, all three of you. I appreciate that. And you too, Mom. I appreciate that too. Listen, folks. How many of you, this is your first year at Seattle Hempfest? Give me a quick, say hello. First year? Right, thank you. How many of you, this is your second year or second year? How many of you been here 3 or more years? Seattle Hempfest. Right on! Look, this is the way it is, okay? Activism starts at home. Every one of us knows that, right? Okay, if you want this to happen, in other words, by saying this, I mean legalization. How many of you would like to see it legalized? Yeah! All right, if you want to see this legalized, I ask you, no, really, I beg you, register to vote. There is no better way for you to be an activist in this country right now than to get on your knees and pray to God that you can vote this fall and that you can have an effect, okay, on public policy. How many of you would like to see legalization? You've all raised your hand and say, woo-hoo, I want that, right? Okay, how many of you are willing to work towards that? Well, you're here right now, right? You put out some effort to be here at Seattle Hempfest. And congratulations to you, it's only Friday. And look at the crowd we've got already. Very soon, here in Washington, also in Oregon, in Colorado, and there's a number of other states that are going to be legalizing this year. There is an opportunity for you to vote and to make an impact at the ballot box. And all I ask you today, if you would please, as an activist, I've been an activist now, I'm going into my 3rd decade as an activist. I ask you to make an impact at the ballot box. You've obviously shown your power here at the Seattle Hempfest. We have had such an effect. This is the 21st year. This is my 18th year of being here at the Seattle Hempfest. And I got to tell you, every year it grows. The first year I opened main stage was the only stage, right? And 3,000 people showed up, and that was it. And that was wonderful, and we had one day. And then, a couple of years later, we, 5,000, 8,000, 10,000, 30,000, 50,000. And then it got so much we had to go to 2 days, and we'd start getting 100, 150,000 on each day. This year, we got to go 3 days, right? And we'll probably have 150 to 200,000 people here each day this weekend. That adds up to over 500,000 people. What's it feel like to stand shoulder to shoulder with somebody else, that many somebody else's, who agree with you that this should be legalized? I think that's a pretty good feeling as far as I'm concerned. I mean, it really is. And so, you've shown what you believe. This is public opinion. That's what you have done. You have voiced your public opinion and said, I want to see this happen, right? What we have to do as a society now is take that public opinion and turn it into public policy. And the only way we can do that is through the vote. It's through those stupid politicians who keep putting people in prison for marijuana. That should never happen. And I think you all agree with me. So all I'm going to ask you, please, on behalf of all of us old-timers who've been here and are really getting tired, help us this year finally get this legal in our lifetime. Yeah! Thank you so much. I love you all. Have a great weekend.
Well, we don't need to support a bad initiative in order to get cannabis legal in Washington State. Y'all need to vote no on I-502. Get registered to vote and actually vote this year, and get your friends to do the same. Look, 502 has a THC DUI limit problem, and it's one I tried to help them fix in the legislature this last year, and we couldn't get it done because the thing is that screwed up. And what you need to know about it is that 5 nanograms is an unscientific, unproven measure of impairment. It's arbitrary. It will result in every medical cannabis patient in this state and everybody who smokes pot every day facing a DUI for doing what we do now safely. Who wants a DUI? Look, don't believe what 502 supporters are trying to tell us about the DUI thing, because now even federal researchers who hate marijuana are now saying that measuring active THC levels does not indicate how recently somebody smoked pot, and it doesn't indicate whether they're impaired or not. This is coming from federal researchers. Oh goody, somebody wants to come fight me. Awesome. I played NCAA hockey, son. I don't like your chances. Look, studies now show... Shut the fuck up and get away, kid. Let me talk. Studies now show that active THC metabolite, and that's what I-502 measures, it stays in your body and in your blood for days and days and weeks. If you smoke pot on a regular basis, you cannot vote yes on I-502. You must vote no. If you smoke pot every day, if you're a medical cannabis patient, your answer, no. If you're under 21, you need to listen to me very carefully, because you need to know that under 502, you can be busted for any trace of THC in your system. You can get it from secondhand smoke and get busted. Who wants to get busted for secondhand smoke? Vote no on 502. And for God's sake, get registered and vote. Look, when we did earlier initiatives, we made it legal for 18-year-olds because we remembered how we were when we were 18. I was getting straight A's in college and smoking the hell out of the dank. 502 threw away the rights of 18, 19, and 20-year-olds for the votes of a bunch of soccer moms. Say no to 502. There are other reasons to dislike this initiative, but I'll tell you what, at the end of the day, folks, all these celebrity supporters who are going to be showing up over the next few days, every time they open their mouth and tell you to vote yes, and 502 is awesome, ask yourself how many of them are from California. They don't live here, they won't live with the consequences. Vote no on I-502. Go to 502facts.com, go to no on I502.org, and just vote no. Thank you. Thank you, Bill. All right, thank you. Elections around the world on the high-dose non-psychoactive use of raw cannabis. Give it up to William Courtney. Well, who wants to legalize freedom? Who wants to legalize the most important vegetable on the planet? When you eat cannabis, you're doing 1,000 milligrams. When you smoke, you're doing 10. You need high dose if you want to prevent cancer, diabetes.
Hello, everybody. It's great to be at HempFest again. We are part of a free speech event here, and we are standing up for what we care about, which is changing the drug laws. And it's amazing to be at HempFest where there are no arrests, where it's a peaceful, all-volunteer event. But when we're here, it's easy to forget that 150 times a day around this country, there's a SWAT raid with guns primarily used against marijuana users. There are 50,000 people who've died in Mexico as a result of this war on drugs, this failed war on drugs for the last 40 years. There are victims like the Moss family who lives here in Seattle, whose dad was sent to prison for 20 years for growing a flower. And every day, people we know, if not you, are affected by this war. And we have an opportunity to stand up, and that's what we're doing here today, is standing up and proclaiming that we need to change these drug laws. Washington State will be in the national spotlight this fall with Initiative 502, and I know there's a lot of debate about the particulars in that provision, but it is an opportunity to say we in Washington care about the drug laws and that the drug laws should be changed. And for the first time in 40 years, popular support in this country has shifted towards drug legalization, towards marijuana legalization. This is like a moment when the Berlin Wall could come down.
Why don't we all turn on together?
Oh, sorry about that abrupt change there. Didn't realize that speech didn't get the whole thing. That was David Knott from Reason Magazine. And it was nice, you know, during the presentations. If you've been watching the show all week, I've been trying to show both pro and anti-502 speeches so you can kind of get a feel for what was going on there. And a lot of people in the chat room have kind of called out what I saw, and that is, you know, a lot of fear and illogic coming out of the no side. Like Lively Libra said in the chat room, it just sounds so illogical. If you smoke pot every day, vote no on legalization. It just sounds so illogical. We'll take your calls on this and talk about it a little more. Plus, I got another video. I didn't get a chance to get the Bill Panzer video in, so we'll show that one. Bill Panzer from the Normal Board of Directors spoke at Seattle Hemp Fest. Plus, we'll take your calls at 971-533-7111. So for everyone here from National Cannabis Coalition, National Cannabis Radio, and the Russ Belville Show, I'm Russ Belville. Thanks for joining us. And until next